let us go here and hello, bonjour, salut, bienvenue, welcome, welcome, welcome. And this is the Mine Colony New Masseque. Hello, I see you. Welcome. Thanks for being here. And yeah, here we are. And you will hear Vincentius Primus talking in the background, possibly. And there we are. That's how much latency there is. Okay. All right. So, welcome. And here we go. This is my Mind Colony New Masseque. And I am starting the way I did with my other two Mind Colonies today. This is part 6 of 3 parts, 4, 5, and 6. And this is a housing tour, so I'm starting with my housing first. And this is rogue-like dungeons. That's it. Roguelike Dungeons has a whole series of dungeon towers, and this is one of the tallest of them. And I'm just going to show it to you. We're going to change views for a minute. I'm going to go out to this platform, and I'm going to take to the air just so I can show you what these towers actually look like. This is what these towers look like normally, and they go up to the top smaller and smaller. Vincentius Primus and I extended out these wings in order to have some place to do something here. And this is the landing pad of the new Masseque Tower. And then here are the machines that we have. It's nighttime, and this is where I came so this is interesting. New Masseque was a creative challenge, and this tower was actually made with creative, but I never actually used it because at the time, with the creative challenge, I couldn't imagine not having a place. So this is why I have this place, but I didn't need it because I wasn't creative. And so then I went over to where I wanted the city to start, and I wanted it to start at the jungle's edge, right here. So the interesting thing about this was I must have had a campsite, but for the life of me, I have no idea where it was. But you know what's really interesting about New Masseque? All of it is on YouTube. The beginning of New Masseque is on YouTube because I was making this third colony specifically for YouTube. So I could actually go back on YouTube and see where did I have the original campsite, because we did not have a boat, because this is an inland river and we did not have a boat. And the city hall was located on this river area right here, our first city hall. But this is a tour of housing, so I will show you later on when Penelope became a builder. I decided that this was going to be my house when I was in town, and I really stopped going to the tower completely. So this is where I have come to sleep for a very long time, their time, in New Masseque. And this is the deck, so I can fly from here. It's much easier to step out on to here and close this and fly. It's much easier to land and open this and drop down. And so this is my apartment. And in an interesting way, this is the kind of apartment that Vincentius and I just love. It is an apartment above a business. and we love doing that. So there are monsters nearby. That's fine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out my blanket right here, and I am going to sleep. If I use the blanket, which is, let me see what it is. It is the sleeping mat, but it looks like a blanket. If I use that blanket, then I can sleep anywhere. So this is my place. Now, the campgrounds sort of disappeared. I imagine they disappeared in exactly the same length of time that campgrounds usually do, but I can imagine that we might have made it disappear much sooner because we were in creative when we started this. So when we were in creative and we started it, the very first builder's hut, which is no longer here, but the tree, the dark oak tree imprint is right here. So this was the very first hut. There was no jungle at the time that I started New Masseque. I intended, because I didn't know, I intended to use the dark oak builds in New Masseque because they were up in the air, and I knew that they would work in the jungle because they were up in the air. So we started with a dark oak city hall. So then the very first building that we built for housing was this apartment building right here. And the reason that we built an apartment building first was that I thought that I was separating the women from the men by putting them in separate apartments in this house. Ha 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 ha. And of course I was not, because the game recognized all, both men and women living in this one structure, and we had our first kid. So the second we had our first kid, we separated the men from the women. We built a house. We were in the process of building a house over here on the land in this area. We built this house right here. And this house in the beginning was where the women moved to, and the men lived in the other house. And this is now whose house is this? Benedict and London. They're like the third generation, and their parents lived here. Benedict's parents, Aurora and Levi, lived here after Noah's parents moved to a different house. Noah, the builder of this house, was raised in this house. Noah built 3 houses. He built this house. He after Jerome started this house, and then Noah lived in this house. Sorry, Jerome built this house. Then Noah built this house for his parents and this house for himself. They are essentially all sort of the same house. But let me go here for a minute and let's go back, because I've pushed ahead. And I think you should actually see in this, in case you're only watching the New Masseque one, that this apartment building has nothing's been done to it. This is one of the original apartments. It still has all its vanilla apartment accoutrement, including having torches for lighting. And this is how the vanilla acacia apartments looks. This is the only housing that's made in the acacia style. This is the one house that they had. Acacia does not have a family home. They only have these apartments. So this is the way these apartments look. Now, if you watched my new Mombasa, you'll remember that we did a lot to this room. I think that I must have added the double beds in here, and I didn't remember that I had, just to make them more comfortable because these places were so small. But this is virtually the way they looked except for the double bed. There were only single beds in these places. God, I wish there had been double beds, but there were not. So these are singles. Each one of these apartments is a single. And this is where the two men and the two women who first came in as colonists lived here until Charity, one of the two women, actually had uh, Noah arrived, Charity's kid, and that's when this house was built for the child to be raised in. And this house I'm looking at, this is so interesting. These two houses barely have anything done to them. This has nothing done to them. This is the spruce version of this house. Now, something has happened. These houses have been updated, but at the time that this house was built, this is the way this house looked. So when you see the kitchens in that I've done in vanilla, this is how, that I did in the other cities. This is the vanilla version of those rooms. And this is, nothing's been done up here. It still has its torches, its original chairs and rugs and bedroom. Now, the only thing that's been done in here is the bed was taken away. These bookshelves I added. I know I did. Probably to hide something. When this was originally done, there was something about this that I changed specifically. But there was a double bed in this room, but because of the people who live here, this is not a double bedroom right now. And there's the second bedroom right here. There are kids in this house, obviously, because I have two single bedrooms, which would put the parents upstairs in this room. And this is how this room originally looked. It still has the attic, which was so cool. This terracotta is a part of the house, and it is the reason that I began to experiment with terracotta. That idea actually came from Minecolonies developers. They started using terracotta in these houses, and it's really cool. And then, of course, the balcony out here with one of the most amazing views in all my cities. This is the jungle's edge, and there is the main part of the city stretched out right before this balcony here. And so the the original people who lived here was Charity, and with her son Noah, and Edmund, her chosen. Edmund and Charity chose each other, and then they moved to another house. But before they did, we realized that that wasn't going to work. We had too many men and for that house, and too many women, because we were trying to get immigrants to come in with some more names, so that we would not have what we have at New Mombasa, which we only have four family names in New Mombasa. Roland, who is an orphan, has a name, a different name, but no one else has his name. His name is Bassett, and that's in New Mombasa. In New Masseque, we got many more adult men and women, and so we made this second housing specifically so that we could separate the men from the women and not have any kids until we had some actual houses and some partnerships established. This is one of the first of these acacia houses to actually be done. Actually, nope, the one in New Mombasa was. This is the second. And I started this a while ago, and then I got caught up in doing other stuff. So the two bottom houses are done. Look at that. I actually found this beautiful knife, which is a part of, it says, no, quark is actually, yeah, it's saying, I'm not sure which is saying is quark, the colored item frame or the knife. I think the knife is actually Mr. Crayfish, but this is their little place. I was in the process of changing this to jungle, this entire apartment building to a jungle building since it was in the jungle. And as you can see, these top apartments have the jungle trim, but they haven't been, the walls haven't been changed in these last couple of apartments. All the downstairs apartments, I believe, have been changed. This one's changed. Poor Hugo. Oh my gosh, this apartment's empty. Oh my goodness. So that I don't wake anyone up, I'm going to sleep right here on in their little park here. Poor Hugo. During the week when I come back to New Masseque, I'm going to look at his apartment. I had no idea, Hugo. Okay, and then this is one of the other ground apartments, which is finished. See? So this apartment is done, and wow, Isaiah is still in bed. It's daytime. He'll be up in a minute. Sorry, Isaiah. And then, so that's the 3 ground floor apartments, and they were all done, but I never got to the 2 upstairs apartments to actually make them more modern, to actually furnish them. So the 2 upstairs apartments are exactly the same as the vanilla version of this apartment building. So then we had enough housing for the two of them. And the reason why I started doing these land buildings is because when I started this city, these buildings were brand new and they were gorgeous. I think that I actually built this 3rd apartment building because I had all these adults and I needed to have another place for them to live, and so I built this one. I don't think anything's been done to this one either. As a matter of fact, I've removed some of the beds in the bottom apartments to sort of make the people who lived here go upstairs and use the double bed apartments. Now, for a while, this housing was run by Philippa and Roland. Philippa and Roland met and they chose each other, and they were living. They lived here because they were essentially managing this apartment building. And Roland was a Marine. He was our first Marine, and he became the equestrian knight. And around that time, knights and rangers stopped coming home. And so when they stopped coming home, Philippa was managing this apartment building by herself. But Roland was right here. We used to have an equestrian tower, an equestrian horse tower right here, and a stable. and they just recently got torn down, and for some new buildings and some new farms to be formed here. But that was why she stayed in the neighborhood, because Roland was actually stationed at a patrol tower right there. And then Aiden, one of her sons, was stationed at the city patrol tower, and so that's what happened. Noah built this house first, and he built this house for Charity and Edmund because Noah and Philippa, um, not Philippa, Noah and Josiah, had Philippa, and they needed a house where they could raise their kid. So they built this house he built this house for his parents. Now, the interesting thing about this house is for the longest time, it was just a house, just the bare vanilla house. And then suddenly I got interested in it. Even this was the old barn, the way they look before anything is done to them. And so I made this into their deck because look, they're on the waterfront and they actually can take advantage of the beach. And so they had this lovely family area that they wanted to have for when their kids came, because Charity and Edmund then had grandchildren because of Josie. They have a huge family because of Josie and Noah and Philippa. Josie only had Philippa, and Philippa then had 3 sons, and from there formed the huge Aylmer clan that we have. So this is this townhome at a level 2, which means it's a 1 bedroom with this is normally just a personal workshop barn kind of thing. But I knew when Noah was making this house that this was actually going to be made into a deck. It just didn't get made for the longest time. This has been done recently, so it is the recipient of a lot of stuff that I've done with apartments and houses since the beginning. For instance, this, believe it or not, is light blue concrete powder floor, and it just makes the most beautiful linoleum. So this part of the apartment was pushed out a little bit so that they could have some extra space in the kitchen. The lighting is glowstone behind these cabinets right there, and they actually are the recipients of one of the few refrigerators that ever appear in the housing. They have a nice living room space and then their dining area. And then upstairs is a single bedroom because this is a level 2 of this house. What's missing from here? Something's missing from right here. Why it has one arm and doesn't have the other arm. These couches, if you put anything next to them, they have only one arm. And you are hearing Vincentius Primus playing. We are very lucky. So I'm just going to get a bench. I'm not really supposed to be doing this on the house tour, but I can't leave that like that. So there. So I'm just going to put that bench right there to take that arm off of that. And so this is what these houses look like. We gave them a little bit, this is pushed out so that they could have a little bit of more space in this area. And then look at this artwork done on the back cobble wall in their bedroom. It is really, really pretty. So I was very happy with the way this came out, and this is really wonderful. But like I said, this was only done recently. Noah's house, I don't think anything's been done to it. So Noah's house, that is a spruce version. No, that's an oak version of that house. This is the dark oak version. So you see how this is a barn. This is exactly the way that deck looked before we changed it. And I just added an anvil and I think this workbench, but everything else was exactly like this, including the torches. And so it's more than likely that nothing has been done to his house. Well, a little something's been done. This house, something was done to early on, but in the beginning, wasn't doing anything because the vanilla just looks so cool. This is the kitchen and I liked it. So I didn't really do too much to it. I changed the chairs to Crayfish, Mr. Crayfish's chairs. And then upstairs, yes, we didn't do Noah's home. He doesn't have a project. We didn't really do too much to their fireplace, for instance, is not open. They're just using the heat that comes up through the chimney in order to heat this room. And we did add a desk, but look, they're still using the original nightstands, the vanilla nightstands. But I did put it in the couch, and I think I moved this back for some reason, and that's interesting. I probably was going to put a second something there. I'm surprised. So obviously, I might work on this place some more. I have lots of these houses that I really need to do lots more work in. So then the next housing was done. This is the farmland. This is the plains on the jungle's edge. And look at that beautiful sunset. And the next housing was done in the swamp, which is called the jungle's edge, which is the waterfront. And we decided to make a dark oak house because, of course, we were using dark oak designs because there was this acacia house was the only house in the acacia. So this was the very first one of these that I did, where I said, I'm going to make a dark oak house, but I'm going to change it to acacia. And I knew I was going to do that when I made this house. So this is a dark oak house that has been completely changed into an acacia house because it is in the swamp area, and I had wanted all the buildings in the swamp to be acacia. So we built this house right here. This house wasn't widened. It still has the same footprint that it always did, I believe, although it looks like it might have a little tiny bit more space. But I don't think so. Maybe I just brought the windows down and gave them better windows. They have the teeny kitchen, but this is Penelope and Declan's place, and they had 3 kids. They had Mildred, Josiah, and Wilmot. And so all 3 of their kids were raised in this house, and this is why they have this big table here. Is it nighttime? It is. Let me go to the apartment. Let me go to my apartment for a minute and sleep because I don't want to disturb them while they're sleeping. So I'll go in here and sleep. Just so that we can have daytime again and I can do a housing tour without disturbing the people. So here we are. And it is morning, and you can hear doors opening. People are getting up, and we're just going to continue on. So, this was really the first experiment. Now, this experiment happened after I had made this house right here, where I use the terracotta walls. So I knew I was going to use terracotta walls in this dark oak house. But as you can see, there is still dark oak leaf on this house. But and I'm supposed to, I haven't really done it. I was supposed to change it all to acacia. There's the acacia leaf right there. And someday, somehow, I'll probably do that. So, this is the bedroom in this house. This is one of the older houses. Penelope doesn't have a project, so she's home. So it has the double bed against the window, which I like. And we just added the furniture. They have a concrete ceiling, and I was very happy with this design. And then in the kids' room, this was one of the first kids' rooms where I think in the beginning it did not have this divided room. I think I added this later. But this is the kids' room, and you can see it is closed in. We closed this room in. This was after we made the first jungle house. The idea to close these rooms in came from the first jungle house. But at the time that we built this, there were no jungle houses. There were no jungle houses. There were only the dark oak houses and the original stone and these new townhomes. These new townhomes actually were done before the jungle houses happened, and then all of a sudden we had jungle. And when we had jungle, the very first thing we did was we made a jungle house. So before we made that jungle house, we had a second dark oak house over here. And this house for the longest time was just a dark oak house. But then we decided to make it into a jungle house when we had this idea that that's what we were going to do with all the housing sections. So this section would all the jungle buildings would all be jungle in here, which is why we were changing this apartment building into a jungle building. We're not finished. And all the houses on the plains would be stone and wood houses, and all the houses on the jungle's edge, the swamp, would be in fact acacia. So when we started, like I said, this was the only acacia housing. So in order to have housing on the boardwalk, we were making this housing. Now what happened was, this house was originally one of the older houses, and what did I want to do? I wanted to do something, and I upgraded this house. That's what it was. I think it wasn't, you can watch, because the first 6 months or 7 months of New Masseque are actually on YouTube. So you can actually see what the decision was that made me upgrade this house. But at the time that I upgraded it, I did not realize that it was going to change the bedroom. But I saw that it was going to do something, and I liked it. But things turned out differently. So this house has been expanded in a lot of different ways. This house has this little area right here that we made because it was against this wall. So rather than have the bare stone here, we put in a jungle wood back wall, and we gave them this little enclosed patio area using, as you can see, it has much more jungle leafing than the other house did. And this was a big family. Right now, who lives here is Nolan and Kinsley, and their two boys, Grayson and Mark, live here. And Nolan was raised in this house. This is his mother's and his mother's partner, Friday. This is their home. But they gave it to Nolan when he had these boys so that they would have enough room to raise their kids and not be in a one-bedroom house, and they needed a house right away. Right now, Thomas is in the process of building them a new house in the jungle, and we'll get to that house later. But so this house was made into a jungle house, and as you can see, most of the leaf is made into jungle leaf. We still have some work to be done there, but this is the new bedroom. So Vincentius Primus heard me moaning and groaning about the fact that they had changed the orientation of the beds and to make a single beds on both sides of this room. And he said, why don't you just add a bed in between? And it was like, yes, and make a king size bed. So this is what happened in this house and in all the dark oak houses that I am making. I like this room as the master bedroom, and I wanted to keep it that way. So this is now the new master bedroom. And upstairs, we have the old version of this, where now this is an in-between version, which is really interesting. So they had already changed the bedroom downstairs, but they hadn't changed the bedroom upstairs. So they hadn't made the double door right here, or the double stairway coming up to this bedroom. That hadn't been made yet. So we closed this room in and gave them all the jungle furnishings, all the jungle materials. I guess that's the best way to say it, in this house. And that is how this house came to be. And then this house is the reason why these dark oak house, the kids' room in the dark oak houses started to be closed in because of this house. Because this, suddenly there was jungle, and it was like, oh, it was like, yes, I'm in the jungle and I can have jungle houses. And I loved this house. I still love this house. We have done a lot with this house, but I will show it to you. This was I don't think I have an original house right now. I think if you watch, I don't know, I might not have one that you can see anymore, but this is the jungle house. It still has the door to this room, which used to be a storage room, but we took all the storage out, the racks out of this room, and made it the kitchen. And this is when we first started closing in these walls in these rooms. We changed we made this the dining room. In the vanilla version of this house, this is the kitchen, but we made this the dining room, and this is the deck. This is actually a little porch on the deck. But because we needed bedrooms, and they had bedrooms in the living room, we wanted a bed here at one point, and the reason why this bed is Mr. Crayfish bed is to keep the current residents of this house from using this bed. So I could come in here and use this bed, but colonists won't use this bed. I just wanted it as a guest bedroom because this house had always had this bedroom and the living room out here in this area. I actually moved the wall back, this paper wall. It was actually right here where you see this dark oak, but I moved it back so that I could have that. And you see how it's open because it actually was the patio. Oh, okay, they're going to start coming home. It's nighttime, but I can sleep in this guest bedroom because they won't sleep in it. And so I'm watching people. There's Nolan going home to his house, and there is Maya coming in, and she is actually the one who, this is the great grandmother who actually lived in this house and raised her kids in this house with Jerome. And there is Edmund, he's the miner, he's asking for something. Can I give it to him right quick? Let's see if I can. I can. Let's see if he'll acknowledge that he got it. He might be asleep. Let us go ahead and go to sleep here. Now, unfortunately, the way this house is, and I love Minecolonies. I love Minecolonies. So when I say unfortunately, it is with very, hi Maya, hi Cecily, her daughter, and Edmund, I think, went to bed. Yes, he went upstairs and went to bed. Can I get you now? Cancel the request. I think I gave them to him. Let's look. Yes, I did give them to him. Okay, so there we go. So he went upstairs super late to go to bed. Here is the hallway here, and this is, they still have torches in this area. So this is the original room here, except that I changed this wall from a paper wall. This was actually a paper wall and you could see through it. And this is a kid's room, and that's the parents' room on the other side of the wall. So I changed this way long ago into a terracotta wall and wanted to give them a piece of art on it. And so now this is Mother Maya's room, and the room on the other side of the wall belongs to her daughter and her daughter's chosen, Edmund. This is Cecily and Edmund's room. I changed this window arrangement when I was closing in the windows in this room, and it's really I had totally forgotten about how this was done, and I actually like it. There are some things in this room that makes it look like I got interrupted and never got back to this room to finish the furnishings. Notice there are no nightstands, and there should be, and there are still torches in the hall. So this house will actually get, because it wasn't done earlier, it's going to get some of the newer styles of this refurbishing that we've done on these houses. But they did have a kid living here, but it was Kinsley, and she was Maya's great granddaughter. No, she's Maya's granddaughter. Kinsley's sons are Maya's great grandchildren. So Kinsley moved out to move in with Nolan and their sons, and they live right behind in that house with the green walls back there. Okay, so it was like, yay, look at this. We can have jungle homes. How wonderful. And that changed. That just felt so amazing, and we started making all these jungle buildings. Um, in so we did make another house on the hill here because we needed some extra housing that had to do. I thought Elias was going to live in this house. This house was actually built for the farmer of this farm and for him to live here. But who lives here now is actually Frederic and Landon. That Frederic just became the new farm flower, and that's her standing outside here. Why are you standing out here, Frederic? I don't know, but I'll find out during the week. But this is their house. Now, nothing's been done to this house either. It has the original table and chairs, it has the original kitchen. This is one of the older kitchens, but it's not the oldest because it has this storage unit for food. And then upstairs, is it nighttime? No, it's daytime. Who is that? Oh, that's Landon Jr., who's just leaving the house. And they have 3 sons living here. This is, let me go down for a minute. This is Frederic and Landon. Landon is the who runs the composter, and Landon X runs the composter. Frederic is now a farmer. She was a teacher for a long time. Landon Jr., Anthony, and Ian are all in school. And since they're all in school, they're actually still living at home. Young adults, because children do not go to school in Minecolonies. So these are young adults. So these bedrooms have been changed so that these kids can live here. Only this bed is separated. This is actually a double bedroom, but we separated these beds so that the boys would have a bedroom. 2 of the boys are in this bedroom, and this is what this closet looked like originally. And the sides of this closet, maybe there were books in these closet sides, because that's interesting. So Minecolonies might have actually put those books there. But the flooring, the furnishings, all of this is theirs, and I did not do anything to this closet. In New Mombasa, I showed you that closet with a clothing rack made out of end rod in there. And then this is the study. The study always has this bed right here. So this is the bed that the 3rd son is using, probably Landon Jr. He's the oldest, and he's older, much older than Ian and Anthony. Yes. And then upstairs, but you can see it still has the original torches, and upstairs is their bedroom, and it's still the original bedroom with the original vanilla furniture, the bed, the chairs. All of this is the vanilla version of this room, which is really wonderfully livable. The attic, I don't know that the attic changed. Did it? It didn't. That is the way the attic looks in all of them. So yeah, it didn't change. And then the balcony, this is how the balcony, nope, I cleared off all the furniture. One of the reasons I did was they were using the furniture to get over the fence to get up into these trees, and so I removed the furniture for the time being, and I never put it back. So that is why there isn't any furniture there right now. And so this is now the house that Frederic and Landon are raising their kids in. And we'll go out here. Is she? Okay, and so this is one of the houses that we had. And then we built townhomes down in the valley here. This townhome right here was built so that this is Josiah. This is one of our two Josiahs. This is the Aylmer Josiah. The Cheddar Josiah is a professor of magical arts, and he is now doing archaeological work in the temple, but that was uncovered in the jungle. But this was built for Josiah and Natasha to live in, and for one of Natasha and Josiah's kids to actually live in the duplex. So these are the duplex, and this is actually a level 5. Is this it? Yes, but right now Josiah and Natasha are the only ones living here. Their kids did live here when Diego was with Victoria, and their younger kid actually lived here, which is who? Frederic? Is Frederic theirs? I don't remember now. I'll have to check. But so this part, this is their fireplace here. This is just a table with their books and a chair and the bed. And this is one of the first of these homes where I made this flower pot here into a balcony, which was just like, oh my God. I looked at it one day and it's like, that looks like a balcony. I could make it into a balcony. And so I did. Now the level 5 of these houses actually has a bed right here. But I've taken the bed away but left the carpet because I wanted to make sure that I knew where the bed was, because they will not use the bed unless it's in this place. Just in case I wanted to have the bed back. I'm going to sleep here because it's nighttime. How do I know? Well, there's a clock up in the corner that says the time, but I also saw someone downstairs in the house, their name, and I know that means they're home. See that name walking away there, which means that it was nighttime. So, yes. So this house was built originally for Elias, and then he, no, sorry, this is not that one. This townhome was absolutely built for Natasha and Josiah, and originally Diego and Victoria, Diego is their son, Natasha and Josiah's son, and Diego lived with his chosen in this house, but they have since moved out and no one's living here as yet. Now, then we wanted to do some different housing that we hadn't done before. So we decided to try building a house, a jungle house in the acacia area, and we did. So we built this jungle house right here. This is a jungle house that was turned into an acacia house. And now you have to remember that I have two other cities where I have done a lot of work on housing. So this is why New Masseque has a lot of altered housing. This house was changed very early on, and so it looks like this. This house still has the deck, and the original wall right here, which was paper, was made into terracotta. So this is sort of, I love this. I actually love this jungle style deck that opens up into the real house right here. We kept this back room a living room, and we took away the beds that were in this area of the house, and all sorts of things happened here because we liked the way these lights looked in the ceiling, and we wanted to have the arms on this chair. Believe it or not, all of this was done to have the arms on this chair. So on that couch, and so that's their house. They have wood. They don't have a rug in there. This is their dining room. And who lives here now? This house originally was for Jonathan, who is Cecily's grandson, and his or Cecily's kid. Jonathan is Cecily's kid. Jonathan is named after her brother, even though she did that at the time because I'm convinced that their father's name was John or Jonathan, and so she was just keeping that name. But Jonathan is with Kaylee Adams, and Kaylee and Jonathan lived here and raised their kid here, but this was their house. Now they removed the door on this kitchen. They actually have a beautiful tiled floor in the kitchen area, and they were using this new extra utilities glass that gives them this beautiful clear view from the kitchen and from the rooms in the house that have glass. This room has the original paper window treatment. And when we go upstairs, this was the first house to have the wood removed from the stairwell and to have an actual glass window put into the stairwell of the house. And here we have, and so they have a patio, a tiled patio, which was one of the first places to actually do that. And when the tiled patio was first put in, I could not get these to match to save my life. And you will be able to see that on the records, the YouTube videos for New Masseque. But then this house also became the recipient of something very different that we started to do. So this room was made smaller. This is the very first time we tried to do this in order to put in a bathroom. This is the only house that has the room in order to make a bathroom, that we made these two rooms smaller. See, this is a little teeny tiny room here, but it has a good feel to it. It's just a tiny room, and we made it smaller so that we could do this. Add this room right here with the bathroom and with a modern mirror and sink. And this is actually a bird bath, but it is the best sink there is right now. They're in DecoCraft, they have bathroom sinks, but Mr. Crayfish does not, and so this bird bath is the pretty sink that we can have. And Oh my gosh, we are out of time. This is going to be, I will have to continue showing, I'll have to have a part 2 of the housing tour because this is only a portion of the houses. And so, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. To my constant viewer, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your being here and making it so that I have someone watching and someone to talk to. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go right now and into chat and just say thanks, everyone. Let's see, I need to do it twice. Thanks, everyone, for watching. You won for watching. And we will say that. And then I'm going to say merci beaucoup. And enjoy your games and enjoy watching all the other gamers. Bye for now. Bye for now.